All right, welcome. So this is another one of those that we're recording early. So Thirsty Thursday number 19. It's a Christmas recorded show, but as we were talking in our pre-show, we kind of wanted to do a year-end wrap-up and then looking into 2021. So with that being said, like I said, this is our last one for the year 2020. Thank God this year is over with everything that we've had to deal with and we got going on. But we're also very excited and we're really, really looking forward to 2021. So with that being said, Trevor, let's talk about, some of the things that you guys have done, both the Steedman family, Strike the Box, Palm Beach Shores. What are some things that you guys are grateful for and that you're excited for 2020?
Ben, thanks. It's really been a year like no other. And I really have quite a bit of empathy for not only younger folks, especially like Liz and I, our son just turned 13. So I can't imagine being 13 with everything else in the world or in your world at that point going on, plus going through a pandemic and all the craziness we've been through. But even in the fire service, there's people who have come in who have gone through an academy and couldn't have a normal academy graduation, or have achieved their EMT and couldn't go through a pinning process or anything else. So it's really been a year of oddity, really, for everybody. So we're really grateful that we have our health, we have each other, and everything's been about being able to modify and adapt. And we're creatures of habit. And in the fire service especially, we resist change. And I always tell my folks at work, there's two things that are constant about firefighters. They hate the way things are and they hate change. So we're always in that dynamic where we're trying to improve things, but it's always pushing that boulder up the hill. And again, we're very grateful for what we have. But this year, if you weren't able to adapt, it really took a toll on you mentally, physically, professionally, financially. And we have been very fortunate to be able to weather that storm so far. And we don't know what 2021 is going to bring. But at this point, like I keep saying, the only thing we really haven't had collectively worldwide is a big tsunami and a zombie apocalypse. So outside of those two things, 2020 is pretty much passed. But looking backwards to look forwards, you kind of look at where you came from, and it's almost like in the fire service where we went through terrorist bombings, we went through H1N1, we went through Zika, we went through all these different things, anthrax. So we adapted to all those things pretty quickly. After 9/11, it was a big wake-up call for us, and things that never happened before all of a sudden happened, or things that we read about that we weren't tangible for us here. We were able to really make them tangible, and then we had to become almost overnight subject matter experts, or at least half-assed subject matter experts in all these things. And we're doing that now. And like you and I talked about during the pre-broadcast, we're getting ready to do these rollouts of the vaccination for the COVID. And it's been a hurry up and wait. It's been warp speed. It's been at the speed of smell, depending on what's going on and where you are in the universe with things. And also just a lot of fluid information that we don't know from one day to the next. What's empirical data, what's been politicized, what's been over exaggerated, or what's just good, plain, sage advice. And with that, we have a lot of disparity within our providers, our fire and rescue providers, on are they going to take the vaccine? Are they going to hold off and see where the canaries fall, so to speak, on the first go round and see what these effects are? So as an industry, just like as a family, we have to make decisions on what we think is the best for us collectively, and also best for the individuals. So going back to the root of your question, as a biological family, we're very grateful that we all have good health and that we've weathered the storm so far. As a fire department, we've certainly had our exposures, and we've had our close calls and near misses, and we've weathered that storm fairly well too. One thing before we go any further, I just want to really ask people who are viewing this to keep the guys in Wichita in your thoughts and prayers. They had 4 brothers who were injured out there. It was last night, I believe, on a working residential fire looking for a trapped victim. And so you had some pretty significant injuries out of that. And we certainly wish them well and give them our thoughts and prayers, especially right here around the holidays. One of the other questions that you asked, Ben, too, is from the Strike the Box perspective. We've been officially a training organization since 2008, so we've got a little bit of time underneath our belt. And there's been a lot of changes since then. And one of the main reasons that we even initiated the process of having a formalized training organization was to bridge some of those gaps. And we looked at deficits in our own training, and we looked at some of the things that the state fire colleges or the some of the other commercial entities couldn't provide for us. We had some close calls and said this just wasn't right. So we wanted to do some good street level training. And there's great organizations out there. Certainly, we're a little bit biased as Strike the Box, but we're looking at the folks like Herbie and the brothers over there at National Rescue. They put out good quality training. There's so many around the country, and there's some others that are throwing up shingles and wanting to do the whole training thing, which is great. But it's bringing that credibility to it and sharing that information and being able to take your experiences, good, bad, and indifferent, and pass them along. Plus, add what you were trained to do, what you were never trained to do, but then you were forced into serving, and combining all those things to try to make sure that we put a good product out there and that we share this with our brothers and sisters in the industry. So one of the things I want to ask people, and I'm going to ask you to speak on this too, Ben, is what are your resolutions for 2021? And we all make the New Year's resolutions, and typically by January 3rd, 4th, we've fallen off the wagon a little bit. But what are some things? What are some goals? Instead of making that resolution that you may or may not keep, what are some of your goals for 2021 in the fire service? And take the whole COVID mess out of things. But in your world, what are some things, Ben, that you're going to look forward to in 2021 that maybe you either didn't have the opportunity to do, or you haven't taken the opportunity yet, but you want to put that on your priority list for professional development?
Yeah. Absolutely, there's a lot of great stuff there, Trevor. I think one of the big things that we're excited for is on a personal front. Nice, looking good. On the Waples home front, we're welcoming at some point, anytime now, a brand new girl to the family. So we are certainly excited for that. Her initials are HLW. Currently, it stands for Homegirl Waples. So we're excited for that. So that is one thing that Rachel and I are just extremely excited for. In the fire service with Strike the Box, it's one of those things. What is going to make me better as an instructor for Strike the Box? What's going to help me better, to do what we're doing here? So, looking at, hey, what kind of technology stuff can we do to make our presentations better? What kind of stuff can we do to get out there more, to teach more, to get out and share our experiences with more people? And I know Trevor and Bobby and we have talked about Strike the Box going back to Alaska for the Alaska Fire Conference and looking at that and doing that kind of stuff, because that's what it's all about. It's providing that quality training experience that Trevor had mentioned, when they were looking at developing Strike the Box and kind of filling the gaps of, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is how we're trained. So how do we fill that space in the middle? And sharing our experiences. That's what I've been, when I first talked to Trevor about doing all this stuff, he said, we're not the kind of people that are going to go out and this is how you should do it. This is the way it should be done. We Strike the Box is sharing experiences. And I've said it for months now, and I'm sure Trevor and Bobby, even though Bobby couldn't be with us tonight, are getting tired of hearing it, but truly honored and humbled to be a part of one Strike the Box in the beginning out of all of this, and then to be a part of 19 Thirsty Thursdays. We started, I have a spreadsheet up. We started on March 12th was our first Thirsty Thursday. It was about 30 minutes where Bobby, Trevor, and I were just kind of chatting about Strike the Box, training, the importance of all of it. And we've gotten to talk with some awesome people like Ray McCormack, Mike Wood, Bobby Halton, Rick George, Eric Olson from Ocean City. I got a whole list of people here of people that we've had wonderful conversations with to do this. So to continue that forward, I want to go and I want to take some more professional development classes. I want to go to some conferences and get some more experience and more exposure around other things. And then I want to, Salisbury is in the process of setting up a promotional process. So I want to compete in that, and I want to smoke everybody else that's testing. So we're a combination department. I love the guys that we're competing against, and I wish them all the very best. Some of them, it affects a paycheck for them. So I want them to do the very best that they can, but at the same time, I want to beat them, just because that's how it should be. I want to work with them as we go through the process, but at the end of the day, when they come out with the list, I want to see Ben Waples number one, because that's what I want. Not to take anything away from them, not to say that I'm, this amazing person, but that's what I want. Is it going to happen? I hope so. But I've got some really stiff competition, but that's how you should go into every promotional opportunity, is that you're going to beat everybody else. You have to have that confidence. You have to put the time in. You have to put the work in to make sure that when it comes out that the results can reflect the work that you've done. So that's what I'm looking forward to. 2020, we'll put that in the past. It's been a great ride. It's been a weird and interesting ride. You look at holidays that you've had to do differently because your parents are older or a vulnerable population, this thing we call physical distancing and all that kind of stuff. The whole pandemic only comes around once every 100 years. And of course we get it. So glad to see that go, but looking forward to 2021. So.
And Ben, very, very well said with a lot of things. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, and congratulations in advance on the arrival of baby girl Waples. I know y'all are going to be fantastic parents, and it's exciting and terrifying all at the same time. And like we were talking about during the pre-broadcast, our son just turned 13 years old, and it's a new brand of terror and horror and excitement at the same time. So great stuff. But I look back at my fire service family and at what an integral part of our biological family that all these people are. Mm-hmm. And just like we talked about on the previous Thirsty Thursday, I've got one of my guys working Christmas Day. He's covered till noon, and everybody's stepped up, done the right thing. The people who don't have young kids or say, hey, no, look, these are things that happen by edicts or general orders or memos. It's that brotherhood in the fire service. I know I've gone in and worked for my folks so they can go and take off, and if nobody was available to cover them and they need to go to a kid's ball game or recital or whatever the case is. So we take care of each other on that. And I think especially this time of year, and we've discussed this before, we got to remember our families, our families at home, our fire service family, and don't forget the retiree families too, because sometimes you feel a little bit. I think some of those guys feel a little bit lost, and it's just that they're thought about and appreciated. We're standing on their shoulders. They built a lot of our departments. They suffered a lot of the slings and arrows so that we can have what we have today, whether it's apparatus, turnout gear, policies. Some policies are named for some of those individuals, so we'll leave those alone. We'll leave
that go.
Yes, and as we talked about, Brother Hickman being responsible for pages 7 through 19 of the Human Resources Manual, but
which is impressive.
Oh, it is, and if he had worked a little longer, I'm sure he would have had his own chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I look at all these folks, and just like what you said, Ben, in the competitive process for promotion, at the end of the day, we're all fighting for the same team. And in one of the classes that we teach through Strike the Box, the 360 leadership, we put a graphic up of the back of a turnout coat, and it'll say Acme Fire Department and then J Doe at the bottom. And we said there's two names on the back of your turnout coat. Who are you there for? And that gets people thinking a little bit. So, the city, the municipality, the town, whoever we're serving, those are the people we're serving. And actually one of our dear brothers and Salty Dog fireman and lifelong instructor, certainly one of my mentors, Skip Carey. I think he said it the best. And he said, those two names on the back of the fire coat. So when you go to work, the people that you're serving are at the top of that coat. The people that you're working to go home to safely at the end of that shift is at the bottom. And it's like, wow, that's a really another really poignant way to look at that. Mm-hmm. And we look at people like that in our industry. I mean, the people like the Skip Carey's, the Donald Fishers, the Donald Records. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And sometimes as the sands of time go on, I was talking to somebody the other day back in Ocean City about some of the training stuff, and just kind of kidding with them. And it was nice and flattering to hear, oh yeah, you started some of this, and this program that you initiated way back when is still doing this, or we've been able to take it and from where it was to here. That's great to hear. And maybe one day they'll name a Connex container at the academy after me or something, or a bathroom stall, who knows. But but it's those things where don't forget the contributions of the people who've come before you, regardless of if they had glitter crap on their collar or whatever color front piece they had. Mm-hmm. Everybody contributed to something along the way, or was on that call that's part of your history. So I think, from a historical perspective, especially, we look at Christmas and we look at the historical perspective, and some of the things that where we look at our blessings and what's brought us together and what's really built us in some of the things. We really need to look at that as well in the fire department. And I think it was Billy Carey who had mentioned in one of the pictures you had posted, it's like, wow, I spent a lot of time in that room as a kid. And you can look back and you're looking at some of the faces that are in some of these pictures and some of the places that you've been and things that you've done. So now's a good time to maybe reach out to some of those people, especially around the holiday season. And for some, and this is, I can share this on a personal note, is I was at the doctor yesterday and was reminded, hey, you're not 18 anymore. You're a 50-year-old guy who is had their body beat up by the industry that you're in, and you need to be able to modify things. So essentially being told that, okay, look, you're not a warrior anymore. You're an elder. And it's like, well, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. And so trying to get that through, and then realizing that I've had to have that conversation with some of the people that I looked up to say, hey, I don't want to be the one to say this, but maybe we need to start that's a very difficult conversation to have. So, I just hope at one point that we all realize that we're going to transition from warrior to elder. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be, back there making, sewing beads on something. That your contributions should be recognized. And I really feel that we need to do a better job of that with the people who are here now. Because after a while, their contributions, I don't want to say they get lost, but some of the experience they have and the things they can still contribute to this day, we squander that by not reaching out to them and saying, hey. And we talked about bringing some of those people on this show, in the not too distant future, to talk about some of those things. And I saw some things from the Smithsonian where they would have soldiers from the Civil War that they actually recorded their voices and their stories before they had passed, and somebody had the intuitiveness to say, wow, this is a part of our history that we don't want to lose. They would take Indian chiefs from these different tribes that now they're completely configured differently, and they would record them and put that in the archives for future generations to learn from. And it's really something that in the fire service we could do also. And in this day and age of technology, and some of you guys in Ocean City would probably remember this guy. His name was Dick Hunt, and he was a retired DC firefighter who came down to Ocean City, joined the volunteers. Most days you could find him up at the American Legion Hall he drank some horrible, it wasn't even Budweiser. It was like 5 steps below Budweiser. No offense, Ray. I know you love Budweiser, but he was at these massive fires, back in the 1920s and 30s, and ones we read about as case studies, and this theater fire, this massive warehouse fire, and we would sit around like little kids at a campfire, and we're like, hey, Dick, can you tell us about this, such and such theater fire? And he had a very unique voice that was so funny, and he couldn't hear hardly at all. And it was great because after a while he would say, "All right, boys, story time's over. I gotta go get a beer." And he always had a little quip for you. And I'll end on this, Ben, before I pitch it back to you. The guys were sitting around, and we had story time with Dick Hunt in the day room at headquarters, and the EMS crew, paramedic one, got dispatched out for a heart patient with a malfunctioning defibrillator. And Dick, again, he could barely hear a thing because he was from the day where you rode the back step, air horns, everything else, and the tones dropped, and paramedic one responds, such and such location for a malfunctioning defibrillator. He goes, "Jesus Christ, they'll send you boys on anything." And they're like, "What do you mean?" Dick goes, "A malfunctioning refrigerator? That's bullshit. Why are they sending you?" Like, no, a malfunctioning defibrillator. Oh, that's even worse. He was just a hysterical individual, but the knowledge that this guy had, and he was a backstep fireman. He wasn't an officer. He wasn't a chief. He wasn't nothing. He was an ass in the grass backstep fireman in Washington, D.C. in like the late 20s, 30s through the 40s. My goodness. And he was just the salt of the earth. Where could you ever hear some of the stories this guy has? You could read about it, but just to hear this guy relay it, from voice to your ear, was amazing. And he had passed away from cancer probably a couple of years after that, but just such a unique individual. So as much as we can reach out to the people's shoulders that we're standing on, the fire service, and kind of look back at literally we talk about the ghosts of Christmas past, present, future. That's what we need to be looking at the firehouse. Look at those spirits from the past who we're cultivating now, and who's going to be those people that are taking us into the future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. We have to do a better job of reaching out and maintaining those relationships with this. There's not going to be like a Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction, is there?
No, this is more like a James Brown wardrobe change, but it's just the hats.
Okay.
That's all I got. I just had the three. That's it.
Okay, cool. I feel safe now. But we have to do a better job of maintaining those relationships and that communication with our retired members, because they, again, like Trevor has mentioned, they've done so much for our departments. And when they go, sometimes they come back and you've got new people there. They might not even know, like, "Excuse me, sir, can I help you?" And I think we've talked about stories like that before. These retired members. Oh, it happened to you, Trevor. Yeah. So and that's not even that long ago.
No, it's not. And I want to be very clear with this. It's not just retired members on the career end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I mean, look at people in the volunteer end. I mean, Ocean City, Salisbury. I still look at people who are very active today. I mean, Mike Hastings, Uncle Ike. Mm-hmm. The guy is was certainly one of my mentors. Was one of the people who raised me in the fire service. I learned oodles from this guy. Certainly just a phenomenal firefighter. I had the privilege of serving not only for him as a firefighter on his crew when he was a captain, but I had a chance to serve with him when he was an assistant chief and I was at the same time. And that was just very surreal for me, but it was just such a honorable opportunity. I look at people like that, and people like Donald Fisher, who a very quiet and unassuming man, but just super intuitive when it came to the fire service. And you've got your Roger Staggers. We go on your Donald Records. I know he served on the career end, but look at the people in your volunteer organizations who really established some of these, or the reason that you are doing what you're doing today is because of them. And I mean, the list goes on and on. I'm certainly not narrowing it just to a few individuals, but you look in your own organization, whether it's a past member, a retired volunteer member, or retired career member, and I think even in Delmar, just not too far from you, mm-hmm. there's a lot of legacy there as well. And I remember the Chief Gordy the First, if you will. It's or I'm sorry, Morris. Sorry, I'm getting my departments mixed up, but you look at the one of the chiefs up there is the son of a previous chief. That his father was one of the people who first was doing instant command before instant command was really a big deal. Because I remember Delmar had two dueling house fires one day, one on such and such street, the other on like East Street. And he goes, okay, this fire here is going to be designated as such and such command, and it blew everybody away. And this is a volunteer-based department, and it's like, wow, and they're ahead of the curve. So you've got people like that who not only affected their own individual department, but really established something for a region, And I'm sorry, I'm having brain cramps because I guess it's Morris. What's
Joe Morris?
Thank you. Okay, sorry, it's the hat, but yeah. And I know the Gordy is he had some dueling departmental stuff too, but is the Salisbury as Morris is the Delmar, but I mean that was something that there's a legacy there. So you look at what's been built over the years. Look at a place like Berlin, and just some of the history that's there, and some of the people that are really standing on the shoulders of people who built just a phenomenal fire service that serves not only a downtown area, but also a very rural area and an expansive first due. So you really don't just look at the career service as far as retirees. You look at also within your own volunteer service, and even in my department, we make sure that we reach out because we have a lot of widows, and some of these are in our ladies auxiliary still. And I mean, I don't have very much time in my department. I have less than 5 years in my new department. So, I've tried to learn who some of these people are. And as we have some issues come up, to say, okay, hey, let's check on this person or that person. Because I had one, we actually named our Firefighter of the Year award after her father. One of our ladies auxiliary members, I came to find out a few years ago that her father was one of the first chiefs of Palm Beach Shores. Not only that, but he was instrumental in actually creating the department back in the day. Wow. And they didn't have a really good written history of everything. A lot of it was word of mouth. So trying to put that together. So it's like, what? We need to memorialize this. And so, our Firefighter of the Year award is the William Ernst Firefighter of the Year award to recognize a pioneer for the department. I never met the man, but he's been long since gone. But the contributions need to live on somehow. Yeah, and this is somebody who was instrumental in helping start a small volunteer-based department that's grown into what it is today. And if it weren't for him and people like him, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. So I think it's important to try to memorialize some of those folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, we're going to wrap it up. So as you guys can see across the bottom of the little banner there, what are you thankful for in 2020? What are your goals for 2021? So when we post this, it's going to go up on Thursday, Christmas Eve. We'll post it sometime that day, but please share with us in the comments below, either on Facebook, YouTube, or we're trying to send it to Instagram, send it all over the place, but share with us what you guys are thankful for, what your goals are for 2021. Some things coming from Strike the Box. Again, we're going to continue our Thirsty Thursday tradition every other week. Our next live broadcast will be January 7th, 2021, with Chief Kurt Isaacson from Escambia County, the battalion chief up there, is running county fire tactics in the 850 Firemen. So if you're interested, go check him out. A lot of really great stuff coming out from there. He's doing a great job with that organization. So really excited to have him come on. We've talked about having Chief Hastings come on and talking about some of the things and some of the tips and tricks that he's learned in his many years of service. And again, if there's other stuff that you guys want us to talk about, again, throw it in the comments. We check that. We'd like to interact with you guys there, and we'll work on that and finding somebody for that. So heck, it might even be you. So like I said, with that, that's what we're looking forward to. Trevor, it's always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Cheers.
Cheers, brother. And Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa to everybody. Or as George Costanza, or who was it said about Festivus? Whatever you're celebrating, have a happy one.
Yep.
So happy Festivus.
For the rest of us. Good night.